Episode 4. The Arrival of Rei, the Irresistible Monster. Scene one night had fallen over Tomobiki. High above the town, hidden among the clouds, Lum's flying saucer hovered silently. The hatch slid open. Lum floated inside with a satisfied smile. She could still picture Shinobu's expression after catching her alone with Ataru. Well, that turned out even better than I expected. Her smile vanished instantly. The inside of the saucer was a complete disaster. Drawers hung open. Plates were scattered across the floor. Empty food containers lay everywhere. The refrigerator door was wide open. In the middle of the room, a huge young man was happily devouring an enormous smoked ham. There was barely anything left. Lum's eyes widened. "Rei?" The young Oni looked up. His face lit up the moment he saw her. He dropped the ham onto the table. "Lum!" Without a second thought, he rushed toward her. He wrapped his massive arms around her. "Lum! Lum!" He began showering her with hugs and kisses. "Let me go!" Lum struggled to push him away. "Rei, let me go this instant!" But the gigantic Oni barely seemed to notice her efforts. "Lum, I love you. Don't leave me." "What are you doing here?" Lum continued struggling. "Weren't you with Ran? We already broke up." Rei slowly shook his head. "But I love you." "Well, I don't love you." Lum finally managed to free one arm. She pointed straight at him. "You're a brute. A blockhead. I could never fall in love with someone like you." Rei smiled calmly. "No. You still love me. Come back to our planet." At last, Lum slipped free from his embrace and floated backward. She took a deep breath. "I can't go back. I still have a lot to do here." Rei stepped toward her again. "But Lum," she raised one hand. "No. You're only getting in my way. Go back to Ran. She must be worried about you." Rei stood silently for a moment. Then he slowly looked around the saucer. His eyes wandered across the room. The monitors, the control panel, a bulletin board covered with photographs. His expression changed. The same young man appeared everywhere. Ataru Moriboshi. Rei walked over to a heavy punching bag. Another photograph was pinned to it. He tore it off with one pull. He stared at Ataru's face for several seconds, then frowned. "Who's this monkey face?" Lum hurried over, trying to snatch the photograph away. "That's none of your business." Rei lifted it out of her reach. "Are you cheating on me with him?" Lum folded her arms. "No." She paused. "And even if I were, it still wouldn't be any of your business. Go back to Ran." Rei clenched the photograph tightly. His expression hardened. "I see." He looked at Ataru's picture once more. This monkey face. Then he looked back at Lum. He stole Lum. Lum finally lost her patience. "Don't be ridiculous. You don't understand anything." But Rei wasn't listening anymore. He opened the saucer's hatch. A powerful gust of wind rushed into the cabin. He raised Ataru's photograph one last time. "I'll take care of him. Then you'll come back with me." Without waiting for an answer, he shot into the night sky. Within seconds, he disappeared over the lights of Tomobiki. Lum remained frozen. Then she grabbed her head with both hands. She began pacing back and forth across the cabin. "Damn it, Rei! That idiot! He's going to ruin everything!" She stopped in front of another photograph of Ataru. In it, he was staring blankly into space with his mouth hanging open. Lum looked at it for several seconds, then sighed in frustration. "No one's going to take away my chance to get even with that monkey face." She pointed at the photograph. "I'm the one who's going to deal with him. Not Rei and his ridiculous jealousy." She sighed once more. "Damn it. Now I have to make sure that big idiot doesn't hurt that little shrimp." She hurried over to the control console. One monitor after another flickered to life. The city of Tomobiki appeared from dozens of different angles. Streets, parks, rooftops, avenues. Lum carefully scanned every screen, growing more and more concerned. "Where are you, Rei?" The search had begun. Scene 2. The following morning dawned peacefully over the town of Tomobiki. Classes were proceeding as usual, or at least as usual as anything could be at Tomobiki High School. Mr. Onsen stood before the blackboard, his ever-present English textbook in hand. In his usual monotone voice, "Boy," he began the lesson. "Repeat after me." "This is a pen." The entire class answered without enthusiasm. "This is a pen." Mr. Onsen repeated the sentence. "This is a pen. This is a pen." And once again, "This is a pen." Nobody seemed surprised. This happened almost every single day. Still, something inside the classroom had changed. Shinobu was sitting in the front row. Her arms were folded tightly across her chest. She hadn't looked at Ataru even once since class had begun. Miss Ataru, meanwhile, sat alone in the back of the room. Dark circles hung beneath his eyes. Perm leaned back in his chair and looked at him. Wow, you look terrible. So, did you and Shinobu break up? Without even raising his head, Ataru replied, "None of your business." Perm shrugged. Magain glanced around the classroom. Hey, where's Lum? Everyone looked toward her desk. It was empty. Kakugari folded his arms. We sure hope you didn't have anything to do with that. Ataru let out an irritated sigh. Whatever that alien girl is doing has nothing to do with me. And I couldn't care less. The school bell rang. Classes were over. The students streamed out toward the large tree-lined courtyard. But the moment they stepped outside, something unusual caught everyone's attention. A huge crowd of girls was rushing toward a single spot. They laughed. They pushed one another. Each tried to get closer than the last. The boys exchanged puzzled looks. Ataru frowned. What's going on now? Magain stretched his neck. Could it be a famous singer? Perm shook his head. Maybe a movie star? The four boys forced their way through the crowd. Each step became more difficult than the last. Finally, they reached the center of the commotion. Standing there was an extraordinarily tall young man, nearly 6 feet 5 inches tall, broad shoulders, a powerful athletic build. He wore a tiger-striped orange bodysuit. His jade-green hair shimmered beneath the afternoon sun. 2 small oni horns rose from his head, and his brilliant blue eyes captivated every girl around him. The girls couldn't stop staring. He's gorgeous. So he's from Lum's planet? He's incredibly handsome. The boys watched in complete defeat. This isn't fair. Why are all aliens so good-looking? Among the crowd, Ataru suddenly recognized a familiar face. Shinobu? She was standing there too, smiling warmly at the newcomer. Ataru felt his stomach tighten. What are you doing over there? Shinobu stepped forward. She pulled a small slip of paper from her pocket. She handed it to the young Oni. If you ever need anything, you can call me. Rei accepted the paper. He blushed slightly, smiled shyly. The girls practically melted. He's so sweet. What a gentleman. He's adorable. The boys ground their teeth in frustration. Ataru clenched his fists. Rei reached inside his uniform. He pulled out a badly wrinkled photograph that had been taped back together. He held it up for everyone to see. Speaking in broken Japanese, he said, "Me?" Looking. He glanced at the picture. Monkey face. The girls immediately passed the photo around. Who's that? Let me see. Shinobu took one look. Her eyes widened. It's Ataru! Rei instantly lifted his head. Where? Every girl pointed at the same time. Over there! That's Ataru. Time seemed to stop. Rei locked eyes with him. For a brief moment, neither of them moved. Then Rei's pupils narrowed. His lips slowly curled back, revealing enormous fangs. His expression became that of a hunting cat that had just spotted its prey. Ataru turned pale. I think he's after me. Rei let out a loud shout in his native language and charged. Ataru reacted on pure instinct. He spun around and ran for his life. The chase exploded across the streets of Tomobiki. Ataru overturned ramen stands, jumped across tables, knocked over skewer carts, anything to slow Rei down. But Rei barely lost any speed. Every food stall he passed became a quick snack. A handful of skewers, a plate of sushi, a bowl of ramen. He kept running. While stuffing himself with food, the vendors screamed in horror. My ramen! My skewers! Somebody stop him! High above the town, hidden among the clouds, Lum's flying saucers silently tracked the chase. An alarm echoed through the cockpit. Lum looked toward one of the monitors. There you are! I finally found him! The screen showed Rei chasing Ataru. Her eyes widened. Oh no! He found Ataru too! She slammed a hand onto the control panel. What a disaster! I can't let that idiot hurt that shrimp. Meanwhile, Ataru darted into the park. He sprinted between the trees, then cut sharply into a narrow alley. Rei ran straight past the entrance. He had lost sight of him. Just then, 3 familiar voices called out. Ataru! It was Magain, Perm, and Kakugari. This way! Into the alley! We'll throw him off your trail! Ataru breathed a sigh of relief. Thanks, guys! I knew I could count on you. Without hesitation, he dashed into the alley. Only seconds later, Rei came charging past. He looked left, then right. The 3 boys pointed down the alley. Hey! He went this way! like he turned into the alley. Ray nodded politely. Thank you. Then immediately changed direction. Ataru heard every word. Slowly, he turned around, his jaw dropped. You sold me out! A second later, Ray appeared at the end of the alley. The brick wall behind Ataru offered no escape. Ataru took one step backward, Ray took one step forward. Within moments, students and teachers gathered around the entrance, like spectators waiting for the main event. Silence fell over the crowd. The showdown was about to begin. Scene 3. The narrow alley fell completely silent. Ataru slowly backed away. Standing before him, Ray advanced one step at a time. His enormous fangs gleamed as his blazing eyes remained locked on his prey. Ataru swallowed hard. So this is what Lum meant. Compared to guys like him, I really am just a shrimp. Ray took another step. He was just about to pounce. Then, wait! Shinobu rushed forward and threw herself between the two boys. She spread her arms, shielding Ataru with her own body. Ray stopped instantly. The savage look vanished from his face. His fangs disappeared behind a gentle smile. In the blink of an eye, the fearsome hunter was gone. Once again, he looked like the handsome young man every girl in school had fallen for. Shinobu let out a relieved breath. Please. He's lazy. He's a hopeless pervert. And completely useless. But, please don't hurt him. Ray gazed at her quietly. A warm smile spread across his face. You. Very pretty. Shinobu blushed bright red. Ataru felt something snap inside him. He rushed over, grabbed Shinobu by the arm, and pulled her away. What do you think you're doing? So now you've fallen for this giant alien too? Shinobu jerked her arm free. She glared at him. You have no right to complain. Not after what I saw yesterday with Lum. Ataru opened his mouth to answer. He never got the chance. Wham! Shinobu's punch sent him flying several feet through the air. He crashed into a pile of garbage cans. Ray watched the whole thing. Assuming Ataru had attacked Shinobu, he immediately stepped in front of her. His fangs reappeared. Ataru looked up in horror. This is it. He's really going to kill me. At that exact moment, a brilliant beam of light shot down from the sky. Zap! Ray froze in place. Electricity crackled across his entire body. High above the alley, Lum's flying saucer slowly descended. The hatch opened. Lum floated gracefully to the ground. Her eyes immediately searched for Ataru. Are you still alive? Still dizzy, Ataru raised a shaky thumb. I think so. Lum let out a quiet sigh of relief. Ray remained completely paralyzed. Only his eyes could move. I didn't. He pointed at Shinobu. Pretty girl. She punch. Shinobu looked back and forth between Ray and Lum. I see. So, you two used to be together. Lum looked away. Now isn't the time for that. She turned toward Ray. This ends here. Ray nodded firmly. I beat. He pointed at Ataru. Monkey face? Take Lum home? The crowd began murmuring. So how are they supposed to settle this? Just then, Megain raised his hand. An arm wrestling match. Everyone fell silent. Perm grinned. That's actually not a bad idea. Moments later, Chibi carried over a large wooden table and dropped it in the middle of the alley. Lum pointed toward it. Very well. If Ray wins, I'll return home with him. A satisfied smile crossed Ray's face. Lum continued, but if Ataru wins, you'll return to our planet alone, and you'll leave him in peace. Ray nodded. Except, Shinobu suddenly stepped forward. That's not fair. Everyone turned to look at her. She lowered her voice. Why does Ray have to leave? Ataru felt another dagger pierce his heart. Perm leaned toward Megain. Are you serious? That guy's nearly 2 meters tall. He's going to crush Ataru. Megain calmly adjusted his glasses. A confident smile appeared on his face. Never underestimate that pervert. After all, he's the one who saved the Earth. Ataru and Ray took their places. They rested their elbows on the table, their hands locked together. The students formed a huge circle around them. Lum raised one hand. On the count of 3. 1, 2. Ataru swallowed nervously. He was finished. Then he remembered something. Slowly, he reached into his pocket. He was still carrying one of the meat skewers he had grabbed during the chase. Lum called out, 3! At that exact instant, Ataru lifted the skewer in front of Ray's face. Ray's eyes sparkled. Meat! Without thinking, he turned toward it. Ataru seized the opportunity. With every ounce of strength he had, slam! Ray's hand hit the tabletop. Silence filled the alley. Then, a wave of disappointed murmurs spread through the crowd. He lost. No way. What a shame. Ray stared at his hand. then at Ataru. Finally, he nodded. I lost. He didn't seem angry, only slightly confused. By late afternoon, Rei's flying saucer rested on a nearby baseball field. Nearly every girl from Tomobiki had gathered to say goodbye. Shinobu stood among them. Goodbye, Rei. Come back anytime. We'll be waiting for you. The girls waved handkerchiefs. Some were openly crying. The boys watched from a much safer distance. Thank goodness he's leaving. If he'd stayed, we wouldn't have stood a chance with the girls. Ataru folded his arms, still fuming. Rei gave everyone a friendly wave, then climbed aboard his saucer. The ship slowly rose into the sky. Lum watched it disappear among the clouds. She let out a long sigh. Finally, now I can focus on my real objective. She glanced sideways at Ataru. A faint smile appeared on her face. That monkey face. Rei's ship vanished beyond the horizon, at least for the moment. Final scene night had fallen over Tomobiki. The streets were nearly empty. Ataru slowly made his way home. His school uniform was torn. His clothes were covered in dust. The mark of Shinobu's punch was still visible on his cheek. Looking completely defeated, he absent-mindedly kicked an empty soda can down the alley. Clonk. What a day. Clonk. Chased by an alien. Clonk. Punched by Shinobu. Clonk. And not a single person was on my side. As he reached the Moroboshi house, he let out a sigh of relief. The lights were still on. A tired smile crossed his face. Finally, at least I can get some rest. He slid the front door open. I'm home. Laughter drifted in from the dining room, along with the unmistakable sound of someone enthusiastically devouring food. Ataru frowned. He stepped inside, then stopped dead in his tracks. Sitting at the center of the dining table was Rei. In front of him stood a mountain of empty plates. Beside them was another mountain of freshly prepared food. The enormous Oni ate with endless enthusiasm. Mrs. Moroboshi hurried back and forth from the kitchen, carrying tray after tray. Every time Rei emptied a plate, she appeared with another one. She gazed at him with sparkling eyes, like a teenage girl hopelessly enchanted by her favorite idol. Eat as much as you like. Don't be shy. I've made plenty more. Every smile Rei gave her made her blush even more. Ataru stared at his mother in complete disbelief. Mom? She didn't even seem to hear him. Her entire attention was focused on Rei. Seated beside the giant Oni, Shinobu clung to one of his arms, smiling dreamily as she watched him eat. At the opposite end of the table, Mr. Moroboshi hid behind an oversized newspaper. He hadn't turned a single page in several minutes. The bulging vein on his forehead betrayed just how jealous he really was. At last, Mrs. Moroboshi looked toward the entrance. Oh, Ataru, you're finally home? Come sit down. Then she turned back to Rei with an affectionate smile. Out of all the friends you've ever brought into this house, this young man is by far the most charming. Ataru remained frozen, unable to make sense of anything before him. Rei slowly looked up. His eyes met Ataru's. Without a trace of hostility, he picked up one of the serving trays in front of him. He held it out toward Ataru. You. He paused. Hungry. He offered the food with a warm, sincere smile. There was no anger, no resentment. It was as if he had completely forgotten the chase that had taken place only a few hours earlier. Ataru stared at the tray, then at Rei, then at Shinobu, at his mother, and finally at his father, who was still pretending to read the newspaper. He couldn't understand a single thing. High above the city, hidden among the clouds, Lum's flying saucer hovered silently in the night sky. One of the control room monitors displayed a live feed from a tiny hidden camera inside the Moroboshi dining room. Lum watched the entire scene unfold. Rei had somehow moved into Ataru's house. Mrs. Moroboshi was completely infatuated with him. Shinobu sat happily at his side, and Ataru stood frozen in utter confusion. Lum watched quietly for a few moments. Then a small smile appeared on her face. She let out a satisfied sigh. My, what a mess. She leaned back in her chair. But in the end, this turned out even better than I expected. She reached toward the control panel, pressed a button. The monitor went dark. The saucer fell silent once again. End of episode 4.